Hello and welcome. Today we've got Ian Clark, and today we are going to be discussing how the government's misinformation are killing millions of people worldwide. That's how they make their money via Big Pharma. They get you ill and then they give you pills, and that's how they make loads of money, and it's causing people a lot of diseases and health problems. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my daily news reels. Ian, thank you so much for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Well, things are really good lately, Nicholas, and every single month that goes by, we learn so much more. I just attended a really important women's health conference and learned a lot more even than I already am aware of. And it's just a constant learning curve. And the more we learn, the more definitive we get about what's really causing major problems, especially with women's health, because women are the core of the population where all children are born through women. And women have just come under attack from the beginning of time that we can look in recorded history.
Absolutely, it's very important because they're the ones that bring in the souls into this planet, and we're in a spiritual war, and they know this. And we want to talk about how they're suppressing, and they're attacking the reproduction and women's health especially. And you wanted to talk about mucous membrane. Can you explain to the viewers what is mucous membrane?
Well, the mucous membrane is the part of your body that is tissue that has fluid in it. Just think about your eyes, ears, nose, throat. They're all mucous membrane based. Think about your bronchioles, your lungs. And then that's the ones you can identify with right away. Because when people get ill, they get a chest cold or they get bronchitis or they get a head cold or they have sinus headaches or whatever it is based upon the contamination of the mucous membranes. And people don't know that they have to keep those mucous membranes in a flow state. When they get plugged up, it causes all kinds of trouble. Now, for women specifically, in the womb, the vaginal, all those areas are a very large mucous membrane system that men don't have. So women can become even more compromised. There was a discovery made back in the early 1900s, which still people don't know about because it was suppressed. There's a geranium plant that grows in South Africa up in the mountains. It actually grows wild. And when they found out how potent the extract is from the roots, what they did is they started taking the plant out of the ground and they would cut part of the roots out, replant it, and even take chunks of root and replant it. And they could cultivate this wild growing geranium plant. When you do the extract out of the root and you put it in a fluid, which we call perfect immune, you consume it every single day. Now, this is great for men as well, because we all have mucous membranes. It keeps everything flowing properly, so you don't get plugged up. The reason we get sick is because these mucous membranes fail in their function. And women have, different reproductive issues, different vaginal problems, eyes can get infected, sinuses, throats, bronchioles, and all of that. So just by taking it every single day, and it's not just a seasonal thing, even though we can talk about it now because it's going into the season when people do get even more plugged up because they're not outside as much. They're cooped up indoors if they're in a colder climate. And so the body kind of stagnates. So it's even more important at this time to keep those systems flowing. And this ties into reproductive health. And then there's the other part for women, which in the womb, they get endometriosis, they can get fibroid cysts. Those things are directly related to iodine deficiency. It's a proven scientific fact. So what's really weird is when we started doing the research into different governmental agencies in the world, we look at North America, and the recommended daily allowance in North America for iodine, for example, is 150 micrograms. You go into other countries in the Asian world, it's between 5,000 and 10,000 micrograms of iodine. It's like, what is going on? What are these controls? The thing is this, over here, we have to put it on the package because companies like us are all regulated. But when you educate yourself, you decide how much you're going to take. And I saw that women did way better in their health overall, like their energy, their reproductive system, their menstrual cycles, when they simply did iodine in the right amount, magnesium into the skin, and then the mucous membranes optimized with perfect immune, completely changes the game. So
Yeah.
if a woman's compromised there, then they can't have as many children, or if they have children, they're not as healthy, or they have struggles with their pregnancies.
So you're saying that the government gives us, the true medicine, but they're lying to us on the amount that we should be taking, which if you're not taking the right amount, still causes a very big issue long term. So, and there's no point even taking that small, very, very small amount, which is like, 1%, or 2% of the amount that we should be taking, because you said 5,000. So is that what you're saying, that the government is lying to us about how much we should be taking? They're really lying to us about the amount.
Yeah, and the interesting thing that I've learned as well, the people who are at the front end of giving recommendations, the people who are publishing the articles, they're actually honest people. They don't have the agenda. But because they are so totally controlled by the educational system that taught them that this is the gospel truth, this is what you're supposed to tell people, they really believe it. And so when they really believe it, then the patients or the people listening to this advice, they really believe it too. But it is misinformation from the top down. So the people behind the scenes who are making the trillions of dollars off of disease, that's where the misinformation is started from. And that is agenda driven for sure. But I don't want to blame people on the front lines, because doctors they're indoctrinated. So you need to get the doctrine yourself. You find out what's true for you, and you make your own decisions rather than having to have me come and tell you, right? Because I'm not interested in telling people what to do. I had to learn for myself. I was going to be dead at 46 years old to 49 years old because of misinformation.
Before we go into the comparisons of how another person in another country like China, who are told they can have 5,000 a day versus the 150 we're told here in the United States, I want to ask you, what type of ways are the governments contributing where they're causing the mucous membrane to clog up and causing issues for the women especially?
Well, number one, there's a population control thing that goes on. There's also the discouragement of women to have children if they have trouble in their pregnancy or if they have an unhealthy child. Autism is on the rise. Now, the country that stands out the best in the world for giving actually good information and has pretty much the healthiest population is, of all places, Japan. Japan is so advanced, and people they think, oh, Japan is just this little tiny country that got bombed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the Second World War. People need to wake up and realize Japan is very advanced. Never underestimate them. And they're actually interested in people living a long time, but having a high quality of life. So for that little country, I don't know, they just stand out of the crowd. And they're the ones who publish the right information about the amounts you should take.
What's the average lifespan that they end up living in Japan? And what's the average lifespan over here in the United States?
Well, the average lifespan in the United States is 74 to 79 years old. In Japan, it's 83. Okay, so that's a little bit longer, but there's a whole thing with this longevity deal. And I'll get to that in a second. But the quality of life is much better. So people over there have a higher quality of life. There's more people that live to 100 over there. But it's not about living to 100. If you go and type in, longest living people, they don't look well. So I knew starting about November 1st, 2017, that there was information that we were definitely missing. Not only was I missing it, but all the health gurus, all the sages, all the experts were missing. And that turned out to be that we're all breathing air that's very contaminated with nanoparticles. And that goes in and plugs up the system. Well, guess what gets plugged up? Your mucous membranes, tire dust, brake dust. Now they got all these battery-powered vehicles that burn tires twice as fast. Come on, guys. Like, it's in the air, but it's invisible because it's nano. You can't even see it on a microscope. You have to have a nanoscope, and nanoscopes are like $300,000 to $1 million each. So who has those? Only very specific labs. But it's known that particulate matter is what goes in, and it's not just like the viruses they try to scare everybody with. There's real particulate matter in the air that plugs all of us up. And so you want to be able to unplug yourself from that garbage. You have to have a free flowing system. And I found out that if you consume unrefined sea salt in water that you make every day at 5 grams per liter, that allows your body to produce clean blood in volume. And that clean blood then goes out and allows the body to dump dirty blood. So this whole conversation today, Nick, is all about keeping the body in a flowing state where you can't stop what's coming in through your breath. You breathe 4 million liters a year, 11,000 liters a day. So you can't stop that. But you can start by adding these elements, unrefined sea salt, sea minerals coming into your intake every day. Iodine is absolutely essential. It goes in and it helps to clean and get all that stuff out as a fuel for your system. The perfect immune allows the mucous membranes to get nice and liquidy and flowing, so you don't have to go out and blow out a whole bunch of stuff out of your nose and cough all the stuff out of your bronchioles all the time. But your body is always trying to expel the stuff that is getting in. It's just not getting enough support. So magnesium levels, iodine, perfect immune, unrefined sea minerals, these allow your body to get into the healthiest state you've ever dreamed of. So that's the knowledge that came in where I was like, wow, I did my own calculation. Anybody can go out and do it for themselves. Look in the United States alone. There are enough tires sold every year to amount to 10 billion pounds of nanoparticulate tire dust, rubber, cotton, epoxies, resins, plastics, microplastics, metals, and chemicals. That's just from one thing. And that's one of the biggest pollutants in the world that we have right now. And it's in every country. So when people get that found out, they can actually bring their quality of life up so you get healthier every day. And a healthy body doesn't die. A healthy body keeps living.
Sure. The ingredient that's used in Perfect Immune that you mentioned that were suppressed by the governments many years ago. Which country actually grows it?
It's actually in South Africa only. It's the only place it comes from. It grows wild, and it has to be at a certain elevation in order to have that quality. You can't just go and replant that. And it's it's Pelargonium pseudoides is what the actual herbal term is, but it's all natural.
It's
something that's been on the earth, placed by God, so that we can have access to it.
Do you think that this is why they're suppressing Africa and they're keeping it a poor country? Because really, it's such a rich country, not just in gold, but probably in minerals and nutrients and what grows under the ground. What are your thoughts on that?
No, the political environment there for the last century has been just volatile at best. From our top to the suppression of the Black population to then the suppression of the white population, just this whole distraction technology. And in Africa, I looked at some map studies. Africa is massively bigger in proportion than they make it on these maps. So I don't know what, I'm sure that they have done a lot of damage to that country and to the political environment and the economic to keep that suppressed.
How would you compare somebody taking 150 mil of iodine, I believe it is, versus the 5,000 in China or Japan? How would you compare their healths? If I don't know if you've seen the statistics, but what can you tell us about that, or even their experience?
Yeah, well, so it's 150 micrograms in North America and 5,000 to 10,000 micrograms in Japan. Well, let's take a look at brain power alone. The intelligence level. Now, all of us are very intelligent. We all have access to 100% of our brains, even though we're told we only have access to 10%. But over in Japan, the sophistication levels are over the top. And that's one major indication right there. You don't see the goiters and the mental problems and things like that in Japan. And people consume a lot of seafood over there as well, which has iodide in it. coming in when iodide feeds the thyroid, which converts to T3, T4 iodine hormones. So everybody in the world, though, benefits from taking the pure USP grade iodine. The perfect iodine is the perfect form of it because it comes in the form of a gas molecule that's infused into water. So when it releases, it carpet bombs all the stuff that you don't want in your system. Plus, it gives you fuel, energy, and
Yeah.
it converts into better immune system and better brain power. That's just one thing.
Ian, you just explaining that, I really want to take some iodine right now. You know, how do I get access to this?
Well, it's easy. And Activation Products is the company that we founded 17 years ago. And we had to search the world and just slowly but surely learn all the truth and find out what the science was behind each thing. And the more we learned, the simpler it got. So activationproducts.com has the iodine, the perfect immune, the ease magnesium, and everything that people need at the functional foundational level. So rather than us trying to come up with every remedy in the world, we remove the problem itself. So once the problem is deleted out of your system, you don't need all these remedies. So these functional foundational elements and nutrients are the key, and that's where everyone can find them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to leave the perfect immune in the link below in the description. I believe that you're offering my viewers 20% off. Is that all right? Is that right?
Well, yeah. Normally on the interviews, that link will always work. At this time of year, because this is a holiday season coming up, we give even better discounts. So they don't even need to have that right now. They just go. Their link will take them in. It's important that they go into your link because they'll get access to all the specials that are going on in the holidays. And yeah, they'll find out when they go. It's just this 1 week only. I think it
Okay.
ends on the 27th.
Well, I will leave the link below in the description so that people can get it now. And I also want to wish yourself and everybody else a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. And Ian, it was wonderful sharing that knowledge with us. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Well, like I always encourage everyone to build your personal enthusiasm by being stronger and stronger every day, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and keeping your physical body really tuned in because that's your core access to this dimension that we're in right now. So keep your interface clear and make yourself a really happy person, regardless of circumstances around you.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Ian, thank you so much. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye.